Hello! Welcome to my work stream, or honestly, I'm not sure, depending on what people want to talk about, obviously, how much work I'm actually going to get done on this stream. Because as we know, today, or really like last night, basically, Fate the Winx Saga, the Netflix adaptation of the Winx Club, dropped. So I figure I'd leave this stream kind of open if people want to talk about it. I have not watched the whole thing. I've watched up to about episode 4. I'm like halfway through episode 4. I didn't want to pull an all-nighter to try to watch the whole thing in one go because then I knew I would not have any energy to do the stream. But that's okay. If people want to talk about spoilers, honestly, I'm fine with being spoiled. But warning to anyone else in the chat or who is watching, they're probably people are probably going to spoil if they want to talk about it. It's a mini series. It's only 7 episodes, so if you're not like me and you just wanted to blaze through the whole thing last night, you probably could have. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be people in the chat who've watched the whole thing. But yeah, to keep myself busy, I am actually going to be posting the next chapter of my Winx Club fanfiction, Winx Club Evolved. Right now, that's kind of my first business of the day for this, what is technically supposed to be a work stream. But like I said, I'm keeping it open to discussion about Fate the Winx Saga and anything else if you want to talk about. Because I know a good portion of my audience has found me through the Winx Club videos. I know from my analytics, and also just because that's the first Winx Club video I did is my most viewed video on my channel, like by a lot. So I know a good portion of my audience found me through the Winx Club videos, but I know not all of my audience has. It's very interesting when you talk about a couple of different things on your channel, because you get comments who are like, "Oh, talk more about Winx Club," and then you get comments is like, "Why are you talking about this? Like, please stop." I actually did get I you're not gonna see it because I I hid the user from my channel. But literally, the one and only comment I got on my most recent Writing Wednesday was literally just somebody writing, "Stop, please." So yeah. I probably would have kept it up if it was a little bit more specific about what they wanted me to stop, but it was literally just "Stop, please." So I was like, okay, this is not really worth having on my channel. So yeah, I'm just gonna get to posting the new fan fiction chapter. I have like a ritual when it comes to posting fan fiction. I always have a specific order. I do fanfiction.net, AO3, and Wattpad. That's why you always hear me list it in that specific order, because that's the order I post in. That's the order I've posted in for, God. I know I started in fanfiction.net first, and then I kind of picked up AO3 and Wattpad a few years later. Fanfiction.net, the account I started in 2011, and then AO3 and Wattpad, I think I picked up, I think I was in high school, so 2013, 2014, somewhere around there. It was kind of I specifically remember because it was like, for Wattpad, it was like the peak of One Direction fan fiction at the time when I joined. That's like all you would see on the front page of Wattpad. It was like different Harry Styles fanfics and what have you. Good times, good times. One Direction's okay. I genuinely, I like, they became popular, like, for me, what was like end of middle school, beginning of high school. So I was kind of like still into a phase of, oh, I'm too cool for boy bands. But I genuinely like some of their songs, looking back on it in retrospect. Let's see, we are on chapter 19. It's Club Evolved, chapter 19. Doo-doo-doo-doo. So yeah, let me know if you've watched Fate the Winx Saga or if you just want to talk about something else. Um, Open to talking about whatever. I when I post my fan fictions on fanfiction.net, I always just copy and paste. I never bother with the file upload just because it's that's really only helpful if you're posting with Microsoft Word, because then you can just put the file right in. But if you're doing Google Docs, it's an extra step to have to convert it into either a Word doc or a PDF or whatever, and then transfer it in. So it's easier to just copy and paste. And then if the formatting gets all fucked up, then you can just fix that later. It's not, although the formatting sometimes when I copy and paste from Google Docs or Scrivener, sometimes it loses its formatting from when I copy and paste it and submit it into fanfiction.net's Word document. And then sometimes it doesn't. I'm not sure if this is like a thing, like if it's dependent on what I do when I copy and paste, or if it's like a thing on fanfiction.net's end. But it seems pretty random for me. Sometimes it just happens, and sometimes it doesn't. Okay, so there's two different passages in this chapter, so I need one like paragraph break line. Where is it? Found it. Hooray! I need to get a proper cover for my Winx Club fan fiction, because every other fan fiction I've ever done has like a cover, either like just either of just an image I pulled off the internet, or something I pulled off the internet and then kind of messed with some of the visual effects, maybe gave it like an actual like title. But Winx Club Evolved doesn't really have anything like that. And I was actually thinking of, because in the Winx Club fandom, there's a lot of fan artists out there who do like commissions of different Winx models. And I was thinking of maybe buying a commission for like maybe the two main characters to start off with. So if you know of any like Winx Club fan artists who you really like, or who you think would fit the style, because here's the style of the story. Because here's my dilemma. I need somebody who does like base Winx, because you get a lot of people who do like the more advanced, who draw the more advanced transformations, or like the later season ones. Like I see a lot of Enchantix and like Timix and Bloomix, but I need somebody who does like basic Winx, like the basic transformations from the first two seasons. And then I also need somebody who draws witches, because obviously Jade, one of the two main characters, is a witch. And there are not a lot of people who draw witches. There are a lot of people who draw fairies. There's not a lot of people who do witches. So yeah, it's kind of like a very specific criteria in terms of like a commission artist, what I'm looking for in a commission artist in terms of like commissioning either just like models, or if I find someone I really like, I would ask them to maybe make a cover for Winx Club Evolved. That would be really cool. Yeah. And I would definitely like sacrifice some of my makeup budget to buy a cover for Winx Club Evolved if I found an artist I really liked. Okay, this chapter is called I don't know. Inside secret to my fanfiction writing, I never think of a title until right when I'm about to post. I'm horrible with chapter titles. Some of my later stories don't even have chapter titles because I stopped bothering. But I, for most stories where I feel like chapter titles are warranted, I do try. I do try to create chapter titles, but now I got to think of one. Ah. See what happens in this chapter. I'm still so when I returned to writing Winx Club Evolved, I didn't realize I actually still had chapters on backlog that I'd written a really long time ago that I hadn't posted yet. And so it's it's like one of those things where it's like I wrote this, God, I can actually see when I wrote this. January 14th of 2018, so almost exactly 2 years ago. So I don't remember what I wrote here. Okay. Okay, now I know what happens. And this chapter is called Fashion Disaster. One of the things I feel a little bit torn on in Fate the Winx Saga is that it's clearly like they're trying to do the Frozen Tangled thing of like trying to take a lot of like very like obvious girly signifiers out of the A Amazing says, hey, thanks for joining the stream. If you want to talk about Fate, the Winx Saga, or just anything else, I'm open to like this stream being taken in whatever direction people want. But yeah, one of the things I'm torn is like they clearly took out a lot of like the very like obvious girly signifiers from like the original source material and are trying to make this basically something like 13-year-old me would like, where I'm like too cool for like girly things like pink and flowers and whatever, but or fashion, but it's like trying to I was really spot on in my latest video saying it was going to be like Vampire Diaries. Once again, I haven't watched Vampire Diaries, but I watched Jenny Nicholson's 2-hour deep dive into Vampire Diaries, so it almost feels like I've watched Vampire Diaries, at least some of it. But where it's like, yeah, it's kind of like a teen CW. I'm actually surprised this is a Netflix show and not a CW show, although it could be Netflix trying to like elbow in on CW's territory. Cause yeah, it's not, it's like, yeah, trying to eschew some of that traditional girliness with like less emphasis on like fashion. Obviously, one of the big criticisms people really had early on is like the outfits shown in the original poster and then the trailer. Although now I'm like, because I don't hate all of the outfits. I know the original outfits, they just seemed kind of like very loose fitting on the actors. And like, other than I think like Muse's outfit, it wasn't very flattering on a lot of them. It didn't really give them any kind of shape, just made everybody kind of look like a box. I haven't watched it yet. It's actually interesting. I have watched almost literally halfway through. I'm like halfway through the 4th episode, and there's 7 episodes in total. Um, I almost don't want to pass judgment on it until I've watched the whole thing. But from what I have watched so far, I I don't think it's very interesting if you're familiar with the genre of like if you're familiar with like YA fantasy, um the colors don't even go with their characters. I This was really interesting because um there was a lot of talk in the comments of my original Winx Club fanfiction about what colors are associated with the different Winx characters, because I almost feel like what colors are associated with the different characters has changed over time, or like changes depending on what transformation they're using and what season it is. Because at this point, like Winx Club has gone through like at least three different art styles, especially between the 2D and the 3D. Uh, and then of course the different transformations all kind of have not different color schemes, but they call for different color combos. And I can tell, especially in the later seasons, the like character designers are trying to give all the characters this certain cohesion, like they all kind of have to fit together. And so because of that, I feel like they sacrifice some of the individuality when it comes to their color schemes. But yeah, there was a lot of debate my comments about like what colors are associated with what characters. It was very interesting. But going back to Fate the Winx Saga, the show itself. If you're familiar with like YA fantasy, I felt this way about Bridgerton as well. Bridgerton is a good like introduction show to that kind of like Jane Austen, um, English nobility romance drama, marriage drama. I know there's a specific name for that kind of genre, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. And so I feel like Fate the Winx Saga would be a good introduction if you're new to like YA fantasy, which I feel this could be a moment of like, hello fellow kids, but I'm not sure, because I know when I was growing up, like everybody read Harry Potter, everybody read like God, what's another uh really well-known YA fantasy? Because I mean, I know this Fate the Winx Saga really reminded me of this like one fantasy series. The first book is called Circle in the Stream, but I don't actually I still have that series I'm talking about right over here. It's the Avalon Web of Magic series. I don't think it's like super well known. I think it's actually the author's like Canadian, and I think it's more well known in Canada than it is in the US. But it's really reminded me of that. But yeah, everybody read like Harry Potter and all these sort of offshoots of Harry Potter. Winx Club originally, one of their big influences was Harry Potter. I think I mentioned that in my first Winx Club video. But yeah, their big influences were Harry Potter and then like Sailor Moon. Even I I was getting a lot of flack in my comments of the original Winx Club video because I wasn't for one, I wasn't super familiar with either the RAI dub or the Nick dub. At some point I watched the RAI dub, but I honestly had no memory of it other than like some of the vague differences. And I honestly need to stop talking about Winx Club in my Writing Wednesday series, because my Writing Wednesday series has the quickest turnaround of any of the videos I make. And like I film it on the Tuesday before, and then I post it Wednesday. And because of that, there's no like script. I don't script the Writing Wednesdays beforehand. Whereas my other videos, I don't like necessarily script it, but I have a general outline. And so because of that, there's just a lot of mistakes thrown in, just because especially for the first one, because the first one, it's like, especially being in my childhood bedroom for this past year because of coronavirus, I feel like my childhood wasn't that long ago, But I watched the Four Kids dub right when it launched. So I would have been like, I would have been like 5 or 6 years old. And so living in my childhood bedroom, like, yeah, that wasn't that long ago. Like I just remember the show by heart when clearly I didn't because I made like a shit ton of mistakes in that video. And like my whole comment section is literally just people calling me out on the mistakes, which is fair. It's fair. Oh, hey, amazing. I watched the RAI one. Where did they broadcast the RAI one? Because I know they broadcasted in like Singapore. And then obviously, I think, because from what I hear, most people found the RAI one from when it was like available on YouTube. Actually, I think that's how I watched it. It was because it was just like the whole thing was on YouTube. Um, but here I am showing my age. I watched Winx Club on television on like the Four Kids channel. And so also because of that, I realized that one, I didn't watch them when I like finally found it on the internet a few years later. I like didn't watch them in order. And then I realized it like Nick had retooled it because by the time the Nick dub had come out, I was already in high school. So I didn't really have the time to keep up with the show the way I did when I was a kid. Because there was a huge gap between when Four Kids had the show and when Nick retooled the show. So like by then I was already in high school. I don't remember it was on some channel, but I'm rewatching it on YouTube. Yeah, yeah. Um as an adult, it's like overwhelming how many seasons like of Winx there are and how quickly they come out with them. Because when you're a kid, like it's pretty easy to like blaze through a 26 episode season and then like wait 2 years for the next season. As an adult, it's different because you have all these other things kind of grabbing for your attention and you have other things going on. So like that kind of stuff like fades into the background, unfortunately, and just time passes quicker. And suddenly like a one season every 2 or 3 years is like a lot. But yeah. So yeah, so I I got pretty reamed for all the mistakes I made in my first Winx Club video, which fair. Hi, Ginger Dog. The way I've been waiting all day for this stream. Yeah, me too. I was like super excited to stream today because I was really excited to talk about Fate the Winx Saga. Did I finish the show? Okay, so I'm halfway through the show. I'm halfway through episode 4, and then there's 7 episodes in total. So I'm like literally at the halfway point. For real, I didn't even know they had 8 seasons or that Nick shared the show. I only remember the first 4 seasons. Yeah, like I said, I watched the first 3 seasons on the Four Kids channel. And then after that, when I started writing Winx Club Evolved in like a late high school, I watched the 4th season. And I'll be real, I liked the different wings in the 4th season. The second half is better than the first half. Okay, I'm looking forward to it. I was gonna try and finish the last 3 episodes before the start of the stream, but it just didn't end up happening, unfortunately. But yeah, going back to the cartoon, I had a hard time getting through the 4th season. I watched it on YouTube because I think by that point it had been long since Nick had rebroadcast the 4th season, and I had a hard time getting through it. It didn't help. I was in school too at the time, and when I say I'm in high school, like I went to the super bougie college preparatory, and then I was in choir, theater, and instrumental music. So like my plate was full. No. Nick showed 3 to 6 and showed 7 on Nick Jr. They literally showed 1 episode of season 8 on Nick Jr. Okay, Ginger Dog, I remember you're the one who corrected me on like how many Nick specials there were. Clearly you know way more than me because I remember looking at the Wikipedia page for Winx Club and like it tried to explain like the like it tried to explain in like that like chart method of like how Nick broadcast the show. And I was when you commented on it, I like went back to double check and I was so confused. I actually thought because like I thought I heard somewhere that after season 7 that like Nick and Rainbow were gonna stop co-producing Winx Club, but I guess they're still co-producing it. It with I haven't seen season 8. I confession here, I'm still on like season 6 or 7. Okay, seasons 6 and 7 kind of in my mind kind of blur together a little bit. I think because they have a very similar art philosophy or the art style. Winx Wiki is a mess. Yes. I feel so bad because there's just so much and like trying to find a way to organize that information cohesively. I can't imagine. But yeah, I've seen pictures from season 8, and from the change in art style, I can tell it makes sense that they would start broadcasting it on Nick Jr. because they look like children now. It's funny because my mom was very hesitant to let me watch Winx Club back in the day because you know when you have more conservative parents, they see you watching a show of girls in like crop tops and they're like, what is this? So probably child me would have appreciated the kind of more conservative dress and the more kind of kiddie art style when I was a kid, because my mom would have been more accepting of it. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the reason why they switched up the art style, because they know there are very conservative parents out there who would freak out at the sight of a crop top. I heard Nick ruined it. The first 4 seasons were from RAI. Viacom owns some of the rights, but it's not co-produced. So it's not co-produced by Viacom. It's not co-produced by Nickelodeon. I'm so confused. I'm so sorry. Nick ruined it. The first seasons were from RAI. Yeah, it's so like the different, trying to keep track of the different translations and co-productions and different versions. It's so it messes up my mind. And I'm also someone who's into Star Wars, and that's also a really confusing fandom. Since Fate the Winx Saga is supposed to be for older kids, they made the main show for kids. That makes sense. That makes sense. Although older kids, I don't know, like maybe this is just from coming from me. Like I just said, like I have fairly conservative parents, not politically, but in terms of like what they let me watch as a kid. And watching Fate the Winx Saga, like I mean young adult kids. Okay. But yeah, watching Fate the Winx Saga, Fate is definitely not for kids. Yeah, like I mean I knew that it was going to be like aged up, and but it's like it's aged up in, I don't want to say a cheap way, but it's like aged up in all the way that like kids think content is aged up, and like there's like sex jokes and drugs. There's not like a sex scene. I honestly like I don't know. I don't think this is spoilers, but in one of the episodes, like Stella stays over with Sky, and like you see them not even like half naked, really. You see them just like in bed together, and like that's the closest I've got. That's the closest I've seen in what I've seen of the show so far to a sex scene. But it's like, yeah, there's like sex and drugs and swearing, and what that's like what makes the show more adult. Because if you take that out, like think about it, if you take at least of what I've seen, like I said, I haven't watched the whole thing. I've watched like halfway through. If you take out all of that, it could just be the cartoon in terms of the writing style. I the themes with like the themes with like the themes with like Stella and Bloom and their moms are kind of the only more mature themes I can really see in the show, being like maybe not super appropriate for a kids cartoon, but everything else, but yeah, even at least in the way they've presented it in the show so far, I could see that being in a kids cartoon without any problem. Like I think I think that like, yeah, other than all the sex, the drugs, the swearing, it could just be the cartoon. And it's so because the writing really hasn't been elevated above the cartoon, the sex and drugs and swearing almost feel kind of like it was just thrown in there to make the show seem more mature. Yeah, the Stella with Sky thing was like the closest thing to the sex scene. They're showing a bra on one of the girls. That's yeah, it's true. It's the thing where like I know my mom would be like, "Yeah, that means the show is not for kids. You can't watch this till you're an adult." But then for me at least, it's like, well, girls do the like the bralette and the mesh thing all the time, so like that's not super shocking. Um, that's actually one of the things I want to do when I move out on my own. I'm not allowed to like um wear any kind of shirt that shows my bra. But I've always wanted to do like a bralette and then like a mesh top or like a sheer top over like a bralette. But I can't do that when I'm at home. But that's something I want to do when I move out on my own. So here's hoping that happens this year. I listed that as one of my goals in my 2021 goals video. So I want to move out on my own. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I don't really have a problem. It's not like I have a problem with all the sex and drugs and swearing. It is a little jarring, like knowing these are like cartoon characters, and this is how they've chosen to adapt them. But it just basically it makes it like any other kind of like mildly edgy YA fantasy show. You're literally so. Oh, by the way, thank you, Ginger Dog. Thank you. Normally see, I wear makeup in my videos because ooh, throat's getting dry, sorry. I wear makeup in my videos just to give people something visually interesting, but I'm very comfortable without makeup on. Like if you literally beginning of every writing Wednesday and then the beginning of every day of my NaNoWriMo daily vlogs, you see me like without anything. And then so for my streams, because I'm not at 1,000 subscribers yet, I can't stream from my phone, but my phone is what has like the really good quality camera. That's what I've used for all my videos. But because I'm not at 1,000 subscribers, I can't use my phone. So I have to use my webcam, but my webcam is like my worst camera. And on my first couple of streams, I tried wearing makeup in my stream and it looked really bad. Like I haven't posted it yet, but I'm preparing like a side-by-side comparison for my Instagram of like, because I after I filmed a stream, I filmed a video with my phone and it looked so different. A Amazing says, I still feel like they could have made it more mature and give the girls a fashion sense. Oh, Ginger, every time I heard them say one of the names, Aisha, I was like, all right, that's what I'm watching. Yeah, it almost feels like they already had a fantasy show in the works and then they just slapped the Winx name on. Like that's how tacked on it feels. Without spoilers, I just want to say the second half is more nostalgic scenes that remind you of the OG show. Okay, yeah, I'm excited. I figured they would like save at least one like a nostalgia bomb for the end. It's like it's a good kind of pacing things where you start off with a lot of nostalgia stuff in the beginning, and then you kind of you save one for like the climax. So that makes sense. I I was gonna say this earlier, but I like some of the later outfits they have. Like one of the scenes I like just watched before I went to bed last night was the scene at like the senior specialist party. That's another thing I like. They put the specialists and the fairies just in one school. That always made more sense because you don't have these constant scenes of like, oh, the specialists they're arriving on their like space train car thing from their different school that's like in a nebulous other region. Not in another region, but a different part of Magic's. Which I thought that's an arbitrary thing where they called the magic they changed the name of Magic's to the other world. I don't know if that's just them thinking like, oh, Magic's is too much of a kiddie name, or if it has to do with the Celtic mythology references, because going back to, I think this might have been another show before they slapped the Winx name on it. A lot of the magic is, and the mythology is based on Celtic lore. And they even, I believe they filmed that Althea location is Ireland. And so, yeah, it almost makes me feel like this was going to be another show before they got the rights to Winx. It's like, oh, we already have another show, so fuck it. Every time I heard this, oh, I already read that one. Yeah, the characterization of the characters. I mean, it's obviously going to be different in the transition from live action from cartoon to live action. And then obviously you have, shall we say, very different looking people playing some of these roles. I mean, I feel like Alicia Applebaum, the girl who plays Musa, I can, racism aside, I can kind of see why. I can kind of see why they picked her. Still doesn't justify not casting an Asian person. I'm very biased in this department because, fun fact, when I was an actor in LA, I was in a cattle call audition for the live action, the last Avatar: The Last Airbender movie, and then that movie ended up being what it was. So, specific names from the cartoon were made to be easier for kids to tell everything apart from the cartoon. Okay. Huh, I didn't know that. Yeah, but obviously Elliot Salt looks very different from Flora for a number of reasons. And so I think because of that, they had to kind of give her a characterization that would fit kind of the look of the actor a little bit more. Although one thing because I want to like the cast and the characterization they've given the characters, but I feel like they're all really bitchy to each other. Like maybe it's just like the fact that most of these actors or the characters are supposed to be kind of like based on like the UK and different like boarding school stereotypes. Like I don't know if this is still a very popular genre, but when I was a kid, like books based on British boarding schools were really popular. I feel like they've kind of switched up a lot of they've adjusted the characterizations of the girls from the cartoon to fit kind of archetypes from that genre of like British boarding school drama. But yeah, they're all really, so this might be just me, my like American niceness, but they're all really rude to each other. Every time I saw Musa, it was kind of weird thinking it was Musa. It would have been easier to make sense if they were all diverse, although Tara has a different personality now, yeah, than Flora. The second half is way better with the girls getting along, trust me. I figured they were like building up to like, oh, they don't get along at first and then they get along, but it was almost like what I was trying to get to. It was like almost, it makes sense they're trying to like build up to that, but it makes it, almost made it a little unrealistic how rude they were to each other in the beginning. Like I could get it if it was like they were already comfortable with each other, and so they were starting to get on each other's nerves. But like the way the show presents is like they literally just move in, and they're already like starting to be rude to each other, which I feel like unless you go to a unless you go to a really bitchy boarding school, which I hope Althea isn't, then I don't think people would realistically be immediately rude to each other on like first day of move-in. It's one of the nice things about the show, actually. Like between like yeah, like living in a dorm, going to classes, and then going to like the specialist party, brought back memories of when I was in college. I say that like I was in college a long time ago, but I just graduated in May. But I think it like brought up some good memories because of coronavirus. I missed my last semester. I missed my graduation. My diploma only just arrived a few days ago. It got lost in the mail. Basically, it was supposed to get back here in September, but I only just got it. And I've been meaning to film a TikTok of like me like unwrapping it, but I haven't got to it yet. Flora and Techno were robbed. Maybe next season. Aw. Flora, I feel like the characterization fits the actor. I feel it's. I'm not sure if it's like widespread enough where it's a trope, but I don't like the idea of like the one plus size girl being like insecure about her being pretty and like getting jealous over like the guy going with like a prettier girl or prettier guy or person. I don't know if it's widespread enough for it to be a trope, but I've seen it often enough to become annoyed with it. Yeah, Stella is way too mean compared to her cartoon character counterpart, but it's explained eventually. By the way, what do you think of Beatrix? Stella would not approve of the outfits. TBH, Stella, that's the best outfits. Like the like person in me that loved the original cartoon did not like that Stella's outfits color coding wise were kind of all over the place. It was kind of like generic mean preppy girl kind of outfits. Like I feel like if you took the designs from like Mean Girls and the designs from Gossip Girls and kind of threw them in a blender, that's how you would describe Stella's outfits. But I feel like her outfits had the most callbacks to like the 2000s, which is I know what some people wanted with the adaptation, because I know in one outfit she's got like the 2000s like hair clips, and then another outfit from I think a scene I just watched. She like has that kind of like pink. It's not wool, but it's like that like pink Chanel type suit that was very popular in the 2000s among like preppy people. And yeah, Stella was the meanest out of all of them. But I do kind of like the parallel of like Bloom having issues with her mom, and then Stella having issues with her mom, and they like don't get along at first. And like I said, I'm gonna watch the whole show, but hopefully if they dig a little, I'll be happy if they dig a little bit more into that, and then like sort of like Stella and Bloom are able to like find common ground not based on trauma, but like realize they have more in common than they thought, and then they're able to start getting along. I would be happy with that. I still think Stella was a little too mean to be redeemable. Cause like, yeah, like this is definitely a spoiler part, but beginning of episode, is it beginning episode 4 or end of episode 3 where they find out that like Stella like blinded me, which like I said, I haven't watched it, so it's not clear to me yet if that was on purpose or if that was an accident. But I don't, yeah, like Stella's character is like the one that I feel is like the least redeemable out of all of them. In the original cartoon, Stella was just annoying. And like, yes, that means she's annoying, but that's a lot more redeemable than like a mean girl, basically. So yeah, what do I think of Beatrix? I so here's the thing. I've always had beef with the like fairy witch dynamic. It people who've watched the show later on probably aren't going to know what I'm talking about, but the dynamic was clearly supposed to be like preps versus goth, and it was like all goths are evil and all preps are good, which was very much like popular in the 2000s. And I understand why they changed it, because that dichotomy has completely flipped since the early 2000s. And sort of like being dark and like gothy is actually kind of cool now, which is really weird. Weird to think, but um but yeah, but so like growing up, I equally as much wanted to be a fairy as I wanted to be a witch. Just because I like both of those different kinds of aesthetics, even though, you know, when I was that age, I was not allowed to dress like a goth, dear God. I still don't even have my ears pierced. Like that was my childhood. So like the scene where the flashback scene where like the mom removes the door, Stella, or not Stella, Bloom's door, I triggered me a little bit. Oh man, I need to catch up with the chat here. Piebug, by the way, spoiler free chat, please. I'm not sure who has and hasn't seen the show. I haven't seen the show, but personally, I'm not speaking for anybody in the chat here. But I don't care enough about the show that if I got spoiled something, it wouldn't be the end of the world. So if like the majority of chat is fine with spoilers, then I'm fine with spoilers. But if there's somebody in the chat who doesn't want spoilers, then please respect them. So going back to Beatrix, I like her character. I feel like the actress, not that she doesn't feel like she's in a different show, but she's definitely, of all of the characters, she's hamming it up the most. And I love villains who like chew the scenery. I think she does that really well as an actress. She like I feel like she definitely embodies the quality of the Tricks without really being the Tricks. At least, like I said, don't know. Haven't seen the whole show. Maybe there's a twist, because they're clearly like, even with the name, and then I noticed her Instagram handle was Tricks and Treat, which was cute and cringy in a way that I feel like fits the vibe of the original cartoon. But yeah, I just don't feel like I know, and I like, obviously there's a mystery around her. Like, what is she really doing at the school? She's clearly like actually a fairy, as far as I can tell, but like, is there I almost feel like it would be appropriate, knowing the history of the show and like the fairies versus witch dichotomy. I feel like there could be a twist with that, but I'm not sure. Like I said in my most recent Writing Wednesday about the final thoughts before the show dropped, I I was really on the money of like, because they want to go in a Vampire Diaries type direction, the continuities or the lore is just going to be completely different from the show or from the cartoon. My favorite scene so far. See, I don't like, the show isn't bad, but it's not stand out enough for me to like that like any of the scenes really stick out in my head. It's also, and also because I haven't seen the entire show. The show doesn't really help Tara in the way they dress her. They literally dress Tara to make her look the most insecure. I feel like all of the characters, to a certain extent, have fairly loose fitting clothing, but yeah, I agree that like Tara has the most loose fitting outfit. And I don't know if that always is supposed to indicate insecurity, but I could see how you would interpret it that way. That's a fair interpretation. Fleur and like Fade, she also had good outfits. I really liked that. Actually, I don't know if it's my favorite scene, but I like the scene where I like not the scene, the outfit. The outfit in the party scene where she has like the green eyeliner. I feel like they definitely, for the party scene, they wanted to do kind of like a Euphoria, but not totally Euphoria makeup looks with all the characters, and then give them their cartoon characters original their original kind of color. Because like Tara has the green eyeliner, then Musa's got that like pink. I don't even know what you call that. It's not quite a wing because it's like a block. And then they've got like the little crystals, which are very in right now. If I was gonna talk about the show in another video, I was going to do like maybe like a Musa look, because I can like, get the, the pigtails. Talking about her outfit from the trailer, Stella was always annoying, although she never really was like that on purpose. See, that's the thing. I wish with like for the cartoon, my favorite season is always going to be season 2, because that's the season that goes the most into, I feel like the season that went into the Winx's like backstories, and then actually gave them some really good characterization and had a decent amount of conflicts between the characters in that season. Like if because like I was saying earlier, when in trying to get through all the current seasons of the cartoon, I had really hard time struggling with certain seasons because it was very all like plot focused, and I feel like the actual characterization of the Winx girls really got pushed to the side in some of these seasons. When I can only care so much about like whatever world ending plot is happening that season. I want there to be like a mix between like the sort of personal melodrama or development of the characters and versus whatever magic-y world-ending plot is happening that season. And I feel like the later seasons of the cartoon push too much into the plotty plot. Ooh. The door removal scene. I really never heard of it. Are you talking about the scene where Beatrix picks the lock in the East Wing? I'm not sure. I think that's the season. I was honestly, by that point, I was like falling asleep and kind of tuned out by that point, so I'm not quite sure if that's the scene where you're talking about. Episode 6 will definitely have some six scenes. Beatrix is like the visual that I see, the personality of Darcy, and the powers of Stormy. Yeah. Maybe. I feel like she has like Icy's inflections. At least because I always think of, like I said, I always think of the 4Kids version, unfortunately, just because that's the version I grew up with. Oh, Kayla Warburton. Hello, I just joined. Hello, we're talking about Faith the Winx Saga. Beware of possible spoilers in the chat. Season 2 is the easiest to digest. Yeah, but I feel like, because I was actually talking to my sister about this earlier today, and there's this one particular line, because there's a few lines in the show. Luckily, they keep it to a minimum of like, but there's a few lines where it clearly sticks out of like middle-aged men trying to write teenage girls. And there's one line Beatrix has where she's like, I hate to be so extra about it. And that and that reminds me of an episode in season 1. Or it could have been, I could be thinking of multiple instances, because in the earlier seasons of the 4Kids translation, they use witch in place of bitch. It's so funny as an adult to hear where Icy is like, I hate to be a witch about it. That just reminded me of that. So yeah, I visually the actress, I think I'm thinking of this because just because of her hair. She looks like, I feel like she looks like Darcy. I feel like her clothes and obviously her powers remind me of Stormy, because she's got a lot of like lace. I don't know why I'm thinking of Stormy, because like maybe it's because in the earlier season she has like those kind of purple tinted tights, but like Beatrix has a lot of like lace detail, black lace detail going on, and some of her accents are kind of like purple violet kind of, which actually that's more Darcy. Oh my god, I'm used to look would be so cute. I almost kind of just want to do it, even if I don't do like a full Fate the Winx Saga video. I just want to do it for like a writing Wednesday or something. See how well I can flex my skills. Although I find it hilarious as I clicked on this just after finishing the series. Okay, so you have finished the series. I have not. I watched halfway up to episode 4. I hate how Tara was the butt of the jokes just because of her weight. I can't think of any specific like fat jokes, thank God, because that would have been if they were like lobbing fat jokes at Tara, I probably just would have clicked off the show like entirely. But yeah, I feel like I was talking about her characterization earlier, that like it's I don't know if it's a trope, but I always feel it's super demeaning when like the one plus size character is super insecure about like being pretty. The way Beatrice, yes, like the way Beatrice can easily trick people reminds me of Darcy. I agree, and then also her like thing with Riven reminds me of like early season Darcy. TBH, the only one making fun of Tara's weight was Riven. Oh yeah, in like that one scene, in the beginning where then she chokes him. I was like, okay, I'm still doesn't excuse racism, but I'm on board with Tara. What the hell is going on with the love triangle though? Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched the whole thing, but it's very like, that's why I was saying earlier, you're not gonna be super duper entertained by this show if you're like familiar with YA fantasy, even like early 2000s British boarding school novels, if like those, because those are like abound of love triangles, like so. Yeah, if you're familiar with those genres, I honestly wouldn't recommend the show. If you're new to those genres and you want an introductory series, I think like Fate the Winx Saga is a good introductory series for someone who's never seen it before, and I think that was kind of their intention. I love when Icy says, "Stop your witching," stuff like that. And then yeah, the other one I can think of is from Darcy. And just so it's like something. Don't be a weotch. It was so bad, but it's so funny. Makes sense. Oh no, I got that vibe. The love triangle was way less extreme than I thought it would be. Yeah, I could see like, because I definitely could have seen it going both ways, where it's like it could have been really could have been like the cartoon where like the love conflicts are really underplayed because it's a kids cartoon, or it could be like, God, here we go, my limited TV knowledge. Oh no, it could be like the second book of the Hunger Games series, which is like just the love triangle for the first 2/3 of the book. That's what I can think of. I can't think of any TV teen shows with lots of love triangles. I feel like they really whitewashed the series. Yeah. I mean, I feel a particular way about this because I am an aspiring actor. I went to school for drama. Acting is what I wanted to do. And, like growing up, I wanted like Asian representation in TV, but in a lot of live action TV, you just weren't getting it. Like, even like more recently. So before the pandemic happened, I wanted to get my first headshots done because I graduated in May. And a lot of times when you get headshots, people tend to ask like, oh, what's an actor that like looks like you or you're trying to imitate the vibe of? And when I have to think of actors that look like me, I have to stare into the abyss. I usually say Aquafina or Ellen Young, the girl who played Knives Chow in Scott Pilgrim. Like usually it has to be like somebody the photographer knows, and unfortunately, like not everybody's seen Scott Pilgrim, and if they have, they don't remember Knives Chow. So Aquafina has been a send for me, godsend for me, because then because when you like walk into get your headshots, they're like, who's an actor that looks like you? I'm like, oh. And like in the past, I've gotten like people like when I've asked for suggestions about actors that look like me, it's like, oh, the lady from Grey's Anatomy, a Korean lady. Can't think of her name right now, but I don't look anything like her. I don't like. When I was a kid, I used to say I looked like the girl from Rush Hour 1. Though. Okay, I'm gonna get back to talking about Winx Club. Musa's powers are cool, but again, it is weird to think of her as Musa. Not only is she not Asian, but her powers are different too. That is true. Oh, I don't know. Like I was saying earlier, because the lore is all based off of Celtic mythology. I'm not sure if this has something to do with Celtic mythology or it's just them like taking everything that was unique about Winx Club out of a Winx Club series. Because I did notice in like the first 2 episodes when they're like explaining the magic system, they're not fairy of the blah blah blah. They're not fairy of the dragon flame. They're not fairy of the sun and moon. You're a fire fairy, a light fairy, a earth fairy. And then your powers are kind of like deviated from whatever category you fall into, which I don't like. It limits what powers people can have because they have to fall into these different categories. Whereas I feel the original show was so much more unique because it was just based off of whatever like title you had or whatever planet you came from. And it opened up so many more possibilities for like powers people could have. And I feel like this is closing the door on the possibility for like for the powers people can have. I don't know if anyone else got this vibe because it was speculated Tara's crush was gay that made him bullied for it. Oh, Dane, I think his name was. He's one of the guys who like isn't based off of a guy from the cartoon. Ooh. Dane, like I said, I haven't watched the whole series, so I don't know what the resolution of his character is. But yeah, it's like from where I stand currently in watching the show, it's like he might be bi or gay, or he's at least kind of like in denial about being interested in Riven. And like either Riven is like actually interested in him or is just stringing him along. It's not very clear from where I'm watching in the show. Flora's mom is Latina, and I heard her dad is white and her sister is white, so Tara's probably from her dad's side. Okay, I haven't seen any confirmation of that, but it's good to have in the mind brain. Yeah, they did Musa Jury. They should have made her an air fairy, especially when they mentioned that air fairies have control over sound. That's true. Oh my god, they could have like kept the lore change and still made Musa the fairy of music. I mean, like I'm almost like, as someone who studied production as well as acting, I'm almost like looking at the show and being like, did they make these changes because of like budget cuts? But no, like the like mind fairy effects, other than because the mind fairy effects, I mean, it's literally just like her eyes kind of glow up and then dialogue, which to be fair is a lot cheaper than having lots of special effects of like music sound beats. And then obviously the way they've written her character is around her being an empath, which this is gonna sound terrible, but after the Shane Dawson controversy, I have trouble trusting when people saying they're an empath, which I know like actual empaths do exist. It's not like Shane the controversy like negates anyone who says they're an empath. It's just like he was so adamant about being an empath in all of those documentary series, and then his like behavior shows he's so yes, empaths do actually exist. It's just sometimes you get a Shane Dawson type who lies about being an empath to like forward a narrative. Riven was the only one that bullied him for being gay. IDK if it counted as bullying because he said he was bi. Riven is just a dick in this show. Like, I can tell they hired, like, I swear they like hired an actor where I would like personally hate his face. That's obviously that's hyperbole, but like clearly he's like he's got that stereotypical kind of like bad boy look. He looks like the dude from Vampire Diaries. Steph, is that the other brother? But still, yeah. So like, I mean, and I hated that like he's like helping Beatrix, and then of course he's also like bi. So of course the bad boy is also like bisexual, but kind of in a safe way. Man, why can't we get some proper representation? Man. Farragon said the first year was about mastering the elements you're born with. You can learn other branches from that element. Yes, I did hear that, but like what I meant was because like everybody has to fall into a category, there's a limited amount of elements. Spoil the end because you haven't ended it. Oh my god, the shit, I immediately got that. In the cartoon, music could tell the feelings of people and hear the inner songs in everyone's hearts. That's right. That was like a season 4. I feel like that's something they like pick up and drop as the cartoon goes on. Relentlessly so cut and dry. Yeah. Like I said, if you're new to YA fantasy, like because I could very much see at this point, like everybody my age thinks that Harry Potter is this like iconic thing that everybody's read, but especially when you think of like preteens, even like younger teenagers, like I was like already at the tail end of kind of the Harry Potter trend. I saw like movies 4 and onward movies 5 and onward in theaters. And I was there for the release of the last book, but I was already kind of at the tail end of that trend. So I could see there being like younger kids who just have no other frame of reference for YA fantasy, and this is their introduction to it. And to be fair, it's a good introduction to it. But if you're familiar with the genre, it's not gonna be anything super surprising. The costumes infuriated me so much. Now that I've seen more of the series and not just the trailer, the costumes are more hit and miss. I can tell they're like, they're going for like realistic costumes and not what we expect from the cartoon, which is like kind of like fashion doll kind of stuff. It was funny, actually, the robe Aisha wears, I have that exact robe. I just don't, hers has a zipper and mine doesn't, but it's literally the exact same robe. Yeah, YouTube always has a delay. There's always about a minute delay from when I actually respond to comments, because I do see them as they come in, but from when you like see my response to it, it's probably going to be about a minute and a half delay. Luckily, my internet is fairly decent because I know when you have really inconsistent internet, they're like there's like stuttering even after that initial 1 minute delay. Because when I was still living in the dorm, I tried live streaming once on dorm internet and it was a disaster. I don't think that stream is even up on my channel anymore because it was so bad. Yeah, a lot of Muses looks like she would wear them. Stella too. Yeah, Musa, I kind of feel like they were trying to keep that initial kind of like, because I talked about this in the original Winx Club show, like Musa kind of had like this like 2000s like punk rocker look, and that eventually kind of evolved into more like a as the show went into the 2010s, it evolved into more this kind of like preppy kind of rock where like, you know, like I'm thinking of the outfit where she kind of has this she has like the white button down and the tie and this like glitzy striped jacket. It's kind of this like prep punk, not punk, preppy rocker kind of outfit. I feel sometimes in like the early 2010s seasons, the character designers for the cartoon were just like, we're just gonna have all of the characters like have basically matching outfits because this is early 2010s fashion. We don't know what we're doing. I forget if it was Modern Girls or another one of those like the like female oriented commentary channels, but I think actually might have been Modern Girls. But there was a video about like how why 2010s fashion was horrible. And I haven't watched that video in a while, but it was very entertaining. Ginger Dog, you don't want anybody to spoil the show. But I said this earlier, but I personally don't mind if people like if if the majority of people have seen in the chat have seen the show and are fine with spoilers. I personally don't. I'm not invested enough in the show to be upset if I get spoiled in it. It's not bad. It's not bad. Like I haven't like honestly like even though like some of a good portion of the content on my channel has been Winx Club lately. If like the show was bad enough, I think I would just turn it off and move on with my life. But yeah, we've been streaming for like an hour and 10. So for real, I think you'd be generally happy finding out on your own. Okay. The outfit you were thinking was preppy for all the Winx. Yes, I'm thinking of a specific outfit for when they like return to Althea or something from seasons like 4 or 5. No, I think it might have been 5. Like I was saying, like a lot of the season where they still keep the original art style. The season where they keep the original art style, but it is after kind of like I was watching as a kid. Those seasons really blend together in my mind, unfortunately, which is why in the original Winx Club video, or my original Writing Wednesday about Winx Club, which is unscripted and has a very quick turnaround because it's a weekly series that I filmed the day before, I make a lot of mistakes. Especially that first one, because I like had the hubris of like I watched the show as a kid. I remember all the information from heart when clearly I don't. Season 7, I think. Okay. That's the season I'm currently watching. I like when I watch the cartoon, I try to like maintain the information in my head. Unfortunately, you know, I don't, because when I was a kid, I used to like remember everything from like every cartoon. And even to this day, I can still like quote really obscure quotes from cartoons I watched as a kid, but I just don't have that same retention now as an adult, unfortunately. Bloom was selfish and rude in the show, in my opinion, compared to the animated version. See, Bloom always was a little bland in the cartoon, I think because, you know, she's supposed to be a self-insert character for the audience. And so I kind of like, I'm like a little torn because I like that they've given her kind of more going on. But on the other hand, in giving her more going on, they've like made her into like the stereotypical, like, not emo, but like troubled, kind of in her own head main character. It's almost like she's jumped from being one stereotype to another stereotype. Yes, Bloom was way too headstrong in the show compared to the cartoon. I have to think about this some more because like I can see where you're coming from, but like compared to like Stella, like Bloom seems pretty reasonable. So I'm not sure if it's like my head just being like, well, there's worse characters in the show, or if I think this like if she's just got kind of like main character itis in that like when she goes for a thing, even if everybody disagrees with her, she's going to go for the thing because she's going to be right about the thing. I feel like most shows nowadays make the main characters selfish, still make the main characters have their friends apologize, even though they are usually in the wrong. It's an interesting observation. I honestly haven't watched enough TV to really know. Um, because like in my most recent Reading Wednesday, I like talk about shows that I think would fit in the same category of like adaptations of existing properties that like then go in a completely different direction than their source material. And I've seen because I've seen the new adaptation of Nancy Drew, and like the broad swaths of that show have been adapted or from the books, but it's like less of a detective show and it's more just kind of like it's almost like kind of like fantasy paranormal investigator instead of being like an actual detective show. But Riverdale, which I know a lot of people compared Fate the Winx Saga to, I actually haven't watched. I don't know if I could watch it from what I've heard about it. I don't know if I like have the patience for because like this is gonna sound terrible, but I do not have a lot of patience for shows just full of like upper middle class white people and their problems. Which as an actor, like because I talk to all my actor friends who, to be fair, are mostly white, so I think they get something more out of it than I do. And they're like, "Oh yeah, it's like that's like where I got all my inspiration from acting. It's like Gossip Girl and Sex and the City." And I haven't watched any of those, but yeah, it's more obvious in the second half. Bloom gets very okay. Okay, I figured that might be it. Where it's just like the moment you're talking about, I just haven't watched yet. Stella seems very confused and weird to me as she is nothing like the animated character. Hello, Mr. Vladis. I don't know, because I know you're somebody who subscribed before all the Winx Club stuff, so I'm not sure how much you'll get out of this conversation. But thank you for coming. Weird to me, she's nothing like the animated character. I kind of understand the direction they took her in, like because it's like if you're like an adult like me coming to the show for the first time, you see blonde, pretty girl who's into fashion. You immediately think like Mean Girl. So I could see that why they would take that in that direction. When really like Stella in the cartoon is very well meaning. She's just a little in her own head sometimes. And I feel like almost like Stella and Stella's personality from the cartoon is more like Flora's personality in Fate the Winx Saga, because Flora is like the one who kind of goes like on, and like everybody thinks she's kind of annoying. When really that in the cartoon, that's more Stella's thing. Yeah, the show is very white. I felt so bad because it's like there's only one woman of color on the main cast, and then there's Dane, who's the only male character of color in the cast, which is not good. Not good. I'm loving this live stream. It's more interactive as the ones I've been in before. Yeah. I think it's because like we're talking about a show and like people have opinions on, so there's kind of more conversation to bounce off of. Mr. Vladis, I'm sort of lost. Okay, so we're talking about Fate the Winx Saga, which is a new like YA fantasy show that just dropped on Netflix. And it's based off of a cartoon that was running in the early 2000s. And so We've been talking about the show itself, and we've also been comparing it and contrasting it to the cartoon it's based off of. Just feel like the whole storyline for Stella is kind of lost. I can't pass judgment on that because I haven't watched the show or like the whole thing. Damn, if I could do like a screen for screen thing, I could like watch the show with you guys live. But I do not have that technology to do that live. I could probably do that actually in like a recorded video. I don't know if anybody would be interested in that though. Especially because I most people want to see reaction to the first episode, and I've already watched the first episode, so it wouldn't be really genuine to like re-record my reaction to the first episode. I want to see your reaction to the last episode. I could do that. Let me know if anybody else is interested in seeing that, because that's something I could do. It does have the possibility of getting taken down because I would be like using large chunks of the show in the video. But I mean, like, I'm not monetized, so I don't really have to worry about whether or not it's a monetizable thing. The second half makes both black characters kind of bad and are disliked. Oh. In a split screen on the same monitor, you can. I don't even know how to share my screen on this soft. Well, actually, I could probably do that. Maybe Twitch. I have a Twitch account. I've never used it. I used it to subscribe to Maiga Vidal, who's fellow YouTube creator, and we support each other. I would love to watch that. Huh. Yeah, that's disappointing because I've actually liked Aisha's characterization in as much as I've watched. Dane is kind of just whatever to me. He's got no, Tom's the one with the shadow cat powers who can like walk through walls. But Dane, yeah. See, I like that they've tried to give the guys more because because like in the cartoon, like the guys were just kind of there. If I was going, I already have this like line prepared, and if I ever do a full Winx Club video, it's like the in the cartoon the boys were boy toys, sometimes literally, and I would have a picture of like the dolls. Remember we were disappointed with no wings and the wings. Hi V Lucy. Yeah. So anybody who wants to avoid spoilers, be careful with spoilers in the chat right now. I personally, I don't really care. So yeah, V Lucy. I've only seen up to episode 4.5, but honestly, like I wasn't invested enough in the show to really care if anything got spoiled. So it's fine. It's fine. All is forgiven. Yeah, never mind. I wanted to see your reaction to the transformation. I mean, I still haven't seen it. So, I mean, I'll see what I can do. I'll watch up to episode 6 and I'll see if it's worth reacting to. I'll also see if anybody else has done it. Because if there's enough people who've like already done something similar, I don't want to like kind of like tread on old territory. Okay, so I've been talking for a bit, and my original goal was to post the next chapter of my Winx Club fanfiction at the start of the stream, but so let me at least quickly post to AO3. Maybe I'll get to Wattpad at the end of the stream. I don't know. What is the genre of your latest work in progress? So I have two things going on at the moment. I have my 2020 NaNoWriMo project, which is like adult sci-fi. Eh, it borders between adult and new adult. The themes are very new adult, but the actual writing style is very adult. Like and then there's my Winx Club fan fiction, which is my Winx Club fan fiction, which is what I'm trying to post right now, which is like the writing style is also very borderline. It could either be like children's or young adult, or no, middle grade. Children's or middle grade. It's a children's middle grade fantasy. What's your favorite ship from Winx? I obviously my favorite character is Tekna. So I do have to say Tekna and Timmy. I feel like they're like out of all of the pairings, they're like the lowest drama. And that's what I need in my life. Also, it's like Timmy is like very much my type. Kind of like tall, thin glasses is like very much my type. So it makes sense that Tekna is my favorite character, and then like her guy is like my type. But yeah, I'm currently working on my 2020 NaNoWriMo project, which is not fan fiction. It's like original work, and I'm trying to eventually get it self-published, but I'm still in like the drafting stage, so that's very far off. And then obviously Winx Club fan fiction. So it's fan fiction. I post it for free, and it's just out there in public. Okay, AO3 version is up. Oh, I get it. Flora was my fave and Helio was my type. Oh, yeah. Do you have a Wattpad account? I do. I believe it's linked below in the description. Your Winx Club fanfiction, it's like the third link is the Wattpad link. So yeah, from there it'll take you to the work, but then you can easily find my account from there. I will follow you. Oh, thank you. Flora was my favorite, and I always love flowers. I really have liked some of Flora's designs over the years. I really like how they've incorporated that floral element into some of her transformations over the years. And also, I feel like she's been the most consistent with her color combos. I feel like over the years they've incorporated more green, whereas her initial design was like almost all pink. But yeah, I like it. So yeah, thank you for the Wattpad follow, Mr. Vladis. Obviously, I'm only currently posting my Winx Club fan fiction, so I'm not sure how much you're gonna get out of it right now, unless I start working on my like Star Wars fan fiction again, which I have been thinking about lately. Um, but honestly, my Winx Club fan fiction, it's not a pairing fan fiction. It's kind of like it's like one of those like next generation things where it's like the Winx Club are like already kind of grown and off from Althea. I know the show contradicts that because it's almost like the most latest scenes have almost treated it like they're students again. But I started writing this before seasons 7 or 8 even came out. So but yeah, you could read that fan fiction without ever having watched Winx Club, and I think you get it. No, I know you get it. You could get it because I know I specifically wrote that fan fiction with the intention of if you've never watched Winx Club, you can still understand what's going on. I actually started watching Winx Club earlier. I'm in season 1 to cleanse my mind. Oh, that's a good idea. What V Lucy? What version are you watching? I grew up with the 4 Kids version. I watched the RAI version at some point, and I've not watched the Nick specials. So let me know what version you're watching. Hello, Jeremy. Flora and Techna had the best powers. Yeah, yeah. Flora, I feel like everybody thinks either Bloom or Aisha is the strongest fairy. I think Flora is maybe not the strongest fairy, but she's up there. She's up there in terms of like power level. I think that bothered me the most though was all the sexual references and sex scenes. I mean, knowing it was a different thing, yeah, it's kind of jarring having grown up with these like very sanitized cartoon characters and then seeing them in sex scenes. It's weird. I understand that. But uh I feel like with the guys making like those really juvenile sex jokes, it almost made them more realistic. Like clearly like I would buy the actors being like American college age, so like 17 to like 19 I could buy them being, but they're European college age, so they're like 15, 6. I don't buy them being 15, especially the guys. I don't buy the guys being like 16 or 17. Um but having the guys make like stupid sex jokes makes them feel more like they're 15 and 16. I grew up with the Greek dub. The Greek dub as a Greek girl. I'm watching the English RAI for the first time. Oh, that's cool. I wish I could like I was like fluent in other languages so that I could understand the other dubs because I do know like it similar to the differences in the English dub versus the English the different English dubs. There's like differences in the translation. There's also differences in the other translations. So it'd be very interesting to know what those are. I know it to make the older audiences just feel weird. Yeah, I feel like this show was for like kids who have watched the most recent seasons and are sort of just graduating up to like YA stuff. Oh, gotta go chat later. Bye, Mr. Gladys. Thank you for joining. Even though I know Winx Club really isn't your thing, but thank you so much. Um, yeah, I feel like yeah, so I feel like people like my age who watched the really early seasons are gonna are it's this isn't really for us, you know, like yeah, like people my age who watched the early seasons back in like what like 2004 or 5. When was first grade? So yeah, whatever what first grade was for me. Um it's literally 11 p.m. for me. Oh wow. So what kind Keela or Kayla? Because I know you got the E instead of the A. Um what country are you from? Because 11 p.m. that's like if the UK is like a it's like 10 hours ahead of where I am because it's 3:30 over here. England. Okay. And so yeah, so what I was gonna say was I feel like this show isn't for people who grew up with the really early seasons or are now in like early to mid 20s, because we've kind of like been through and beyond young adult fan, or just young adult in general as a genre. Still don't understand the argument that since it's for older audiences, it has to be dark and angsty. I feel like that's a really big misconception when it comes to creating specifically young adult content. Like, I was talking about this earlier, but the way they've sort of aged up Winx Club is they haven't really made the themes any more complicated than what you would find in the cartoon, but they've added in like sex and drugs and swearing, and they think that's like what makes a show adult, when the themes in Fate the Winx Saga basically, and even like the dialogue basically just could have been in the cartoon unchanged. But also to an extent, like, I feel like when you're like 12 and 13, you feel like that is what's adult. Even younger, like when you have a more juvenile understanding of adulthood and adult struggles, you feel like swearing and being able to drink alcohol is like what makes you an adult. So maybe there is some truth to that. I'm not sure. I hope next season they learn and introduce other characters. Yeah, that's what I was speculating in one of my Winx Club videos, that like, because in the original series they start out with 5 and then they add Aisha later, that they would start out with 5 and then maybe add Tekna later. They could also add Flora. Yeah, Ginger Dog, yeah. Although I'm not sure, God, I don't remember. It's the clip that I used in my most recent video where Flora mentioned she has a cousin named Flora, but I'm not sure if she mentions if she's younger or older. Funniest thing is when they keep using the argument and then change for older on Farragona being called Farrah Dowling. Farrah is her nickname, I think. I'm not sure. Because I noticed that because when I watch the show, I have subtitles on. Whenever they like parenthesize her name, it's Farrah. But they don't really even call her Farrah. They call her the head mistress mostly, or Professor Dowling. And yeah, I wasn't sure if like the subtitles were just abbreviating her name or if her name was actually Farrah. Sure, Dowling was Farraghona's last name in the cartoon too. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. Alrighty, my Wattpad version of the new chapter of my Winx Club fanfiction is up. I always remember as Headmistress Farragona. Yeah. So it's kind of like, it's actually a similar problem in the Fate the Winx Saga where they just call her like Professor or Headmistress. And yeah, they don't really confirm her name. Although there's surprisingly a surprising number of scenes with just the adults, with like her and Silva and then Tara's dad, which was interesting. I really liked the scene where they're like taking shots together, and they're like, The kids don't think we don't know about the specialist party, but like we're the ones who started it. I thought that was really funny, like as an adult. Yeah, I feel like some things I felt were changed for the sake of changing it when it makes no sense. Yeah, V Lucy, late or a little earlier on the stream, I think before you came in, I was talking about like how this almost feels like this was supposed to be just its own show, and then they got the right to Winx and they just kind of slapped the Winx name on it. Because just some things are just so different. Like the storyline is so different. It's kind of like I was saying in my most recent video, it's kind of gone in the Vampire Diaries direction, and it makes sense because the showrunner is known for Vampire Diaries. He mentioned it when he was talking about this show, in that they just take the very wide swaths of the canon of the source material and then just kind of do their own thing. It's not safe to look up info about Fate right now. The twists are what keep the show interesting. Without the twists, it's kind of boring. I mean, without the twists, it's not the most interesting show in the world. But that's coming from somebody who's like super familiar with YA fantasy and like has like seen these tropes a million times. So I feel like they should do something with the whole Domino storyline for the original show. I honestly thought that's where they were going when this is spoilers. I think this is like this is revealed like in episode 3, 4. I know, I think it was 3. I think it's before previous episode. You could tell I watched this at like midnight because I'm like trying to draw in my memory. I'm already forgetting. But yeah, so they find out Bloom is a changeling, and it's kind of like I said, I thought this could have been its own show because it's like it's not even taking from the Winx lore; it's taking from like Celtic lore, and they even reference it, and they filmed in Ireland. And so she's a changeling, so it's like the whole like she was switched out with a human baby on Earth, and so that's kind of similar to the cartoon. And so yeah, I thought that was gonna be going really like we'd find out like Bloom is the princess of Domino as she is in yeah as she is in the cartoon. Ooh, I'm starting to slow down. Which is actually funny enough. That's how I found out way back in the day that there was another translation of Winx out there other than the 4Kids translation, because I was on a Winx Club forum, which I visually remember what it looks like. I don't know if it still exists out there or what the name was, but it was like a Winx Club forum. And somebody called, and obviously I was, because I'm used to, I only knew the 4Kids translation back then, because I think like YouTube existed back then, but it was just like basic viral videos. And I don't think and people weren't like uploading clips from shows yet, really, at least not that I knew of. People were uploading movies actually, and then you would think it would be a movie and there would be a Rickroll. I'm really showing my age here. But so yeah, there was no other way of knowing or even seeing the other translation of the show. And but on a forum, so I only knew Domino as Sparks, and then somebody on this forum called Sparks Domino, and I was super confused. 6-year-old me was baffled and bewildered. Said inspiration from, yeah. I think they're partially it's like I said, it's Vampire Diaries logic. They're banking on a lot of the people coming into the show not knowing about the original show, and so I feel like people not knowing the show would be more forgiving of the differences in canon. Yeah, it's not cool they decide to retcon everything. They should have just continued the Winx story when they were adults, especially that all the actors are adults. Yeah, I was surprised because the casting trend has been kind of moving away of casting older actors to be teenagers. But I looked up and a lot of these actors are actually older than I am, which is surprising because I would think, especially if you're casting like 16-year-olds, you would want to cast like somebody who's like maybe like 19 or 20. But yeah, some of these actors are like 24, 25. Should have called it Fate a Winx Story, not Fate the Winx Saga, aka based on the Winx lore. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I feel like Fate the Winx Saga, that sounds like a book series to me, more than TV show. The Domino storyline was the most mysterious thing to me. I would always get shivers. But Daphne and Domino, because I didn't have access to the other episodes, and I would sit for hours. Yes, yes, especially because I was watching it on TV. And so, because school and whatnot, even back then, like I didn't have time to like catch every episode when it aired. So I watched them out of order. So yeah, it was like a huge mystery. I didn't know that. Heard about the season as more of a prologue to the main story. I guess so. Like everybody's first season sucks a little because in the first season you're like trying to find your footing with a series. You don't really like know what you're going to go with it, especially something like this where it's not like they're filming it as it's airing and you can kind of react in real time. They like filmed this all in one go. Did they film this during COVID? I don't know, because they couldn't have filmed it in America. It makes sense why they moved it to like they filmed it in Ireland and not in Atlanta or Nevada or wherever the Netflix studio is, because if you filmed it during COVID, you can't do it. There's no way. The eyes turning their power colors when they use their magic are super unique, and I've never seen it before. I've seen it before, but I agree. I like the idea of their eyes turning color. It's also very budget friendly, a budget friendly trick of indicating they're using their powers visually without it doing anything super big. They're all supposed to be 16, but they are drinking and all in college. It would make more sense if we made them canonically 20 plus. So because I was confused about this too. So in Ireland specifically, where they filmed, what we in America think of as our last 2 years of high school, they call college. And then they call what we interchangeably call college and university just university. I have a friend in Ireland who explained this to me at one point, even before all the Winx stuff. So yeah, it makes sense that they're all like 16 and starting college, because what we think of as in America as our last 2 years of high school, for them is college. And I think the drinking age in the UK is like what? It's like 18. Because when I did my study abroad, I was not 21 yet, but when I went to Ireland and England, I was able to drink fine. But still, yeah, and then TV shows nowadays, they're super like realistic about like, yeah, you're underage, but like people are drinking and doing drugs anyway. Like, I feel like that for a long time in TV shows, they weren't willing to acknowledge that like underage drinking and drug use is definitely a thing in real life. And so I'm willing to forgive that, because yeah, I mean, I knew there was like a whole like party group in my high school who were like known for drinking and doing drugs in crazy amounts. Sky's character in the show infuriated me so much. See, I don't like Sky in what I've seen of the show so far, but I don't care enough about the show to hate him, really. Like, he's just kind of generic, complicated love interest who's like got a past, and like he can't be with main character because reasons. So like it's not terrible enough that I hate it, but I don't like it either. They filmed it right before lockdown, okay. Another thing that bothered me was Bloom had an affair with Sky when he was. But that was what made the Sirenic season interesting, because it had a personal impact on her family. I agree. It's one of the things I liked about the Sirenix Harmonix season. It's 18 here. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, because in England they have secondary school, and then oh, you also have college 16 to 18. College in Greece starts at 18. Drinking age is also 18. So yeah, college and university, which in America we use interchangeably, starts at like 18. Although I was 17 when I started college. They made Sky and basic in the show, yet he was basic in the cartoon too. Yeah, yeah. I said earlier, it's like the boys. They were in the cartoon. They were just boy toys. Literally shows a picture of the dolls, and yeah, and like the guys, like I like one of the things I like about Fate the Winx Saga. They didn't give every girl a love interest. It's weird though that the girl who doesn't get a love interest is Aisha. I don't like that. So feel so bad. It's like the only girl of color in the main cast doesn't get a love interest. It's not FAIR fair. It's just another form of college. We also have sixth form, which is just another form of college. Okay, yeah, yeah. I'm somewhat familiar with this because, like I said earlier, I used to be really into like British boarding school novels. So I'm like somewhat familiar, but it's been a long time since I had that phase of my life. Although every Greek has had alcohol since preteen years. That's just the Balkans, I guess. Wow. I I I I feel like depending where you go, like different people have like really different relationships with alcohol. Because like I my group in like high school, like the people I hung out with, nobody drank, nobody did drugs. Actually, that's what a lot of my college years were like too. Like one of the party scene in the episode I was watching earlier, they were playing beer pong. And I was thinking, oh yeah, college beer pong. And then I had to think about it. I was like, wait, did I ever play beer pong in college? I don't think I did. I'm exposing myself. Me, I was very boring in college. No, I played. Funny, I played beer pong in high school, but I never played beer pong in college. And then when we played beer pong, we weren't playing with beer. We were playing with like soda or some like ginger ale. I'm so lame. But yeah, but like obviously in my high school we had this like party group called the Grovers, which is such a lame fucking name because it's named after the park they party in, Stern Grove. And they like not only had like parties at that park, they also, because this was like a bougie college prep, they would fly to Hawaii every summer and then like have ragers there. It was just fucking ridiculous. If I ever wrote like my own kind of like boarding school drama novel, I would have so much shit to pull, so much like stuff to pull from my time at, it was a private Catholic Irish high school, looking like I do, clearly none of these things. And so yes, I have a lot of experiences from there. I could write my own prep school drama, basically. Kind of me. Sheebler Bloom were cheating with the beer pong game. That was cute. That was cute. That kind of reminded me of the original cartoon where it's just like they're using their powers for kind of like little stupid things. And I hope there's like just a little bit more of that because like one, it like kind of, it would kind of like reinforce kind of like how their relationship to each other is growing, but also be like kind of a budget friendly way to show off their powers. Yes, it's like sitting around the table and the grown-ups are drinking wine and they tell you, "Wanna try one?" It's cr and in Crate, it's worse. They buy you alcohol for fun. They are just that friendly. Strangers. I I can attest. I've never had a stranger buy me alcohol, so live in an upper middle class society, so all the time we have parties morning or early afternoon, so it's like W walk just have small sandwiches and tea. So yeah, my family isn't really one to throw parties, so I've never really had that experience. I mean, like, um, before I started drinking in college, like once or twice, my dad, because my dad's really big into wine. He was like, "Oh, you want to like try some wine?" Because like you don't know what you don't know what your limits are. You'd rather learn your limits at home as opposed to like learning at a party where you barely know anybody in a kind of unfamiliar place. So yeah, that's the extent of like my alcohol drinking pre-college, basically. And I didn't really drink that much in college. Like freshman year is like the year everybody goes really crazy, and I know a few people who got alcohol poisoning their freshman year of college. Um, but yeah, I never got even close to that. Can we talk about tricks and the witches? Yes. It's literally midnight here, but I don't want to leave. We're getting up to the 2 hour mark soon, so I'm probably going to be wrapping it up to the last in the next few minutes. Next few minutes, yeah, because I'm slowing down clearly. So yeah, if you want to get in some last few questions, let me know within the next couple of minutes. Why are favorite tricks? Ooh, that's a tough question. Because there's like I say Techno is my favorite character, but if I could like the easiest character for me to like cosplay or dress up as for like a Halloween thing would probably be Musa. So for tricks, I have it's kind of the same thing. I feel like for me, Icy is my favorite tricks, but Darcy is the easiest, is the one I would be like kind of my go-to to actually dress up as. If that makes sense. If they introduce Icy, Darcy, and Stormy, we want Stormy to be to be mixed because of her afro. Oh, we want Darcy to be Latina because it'd be cooler to show more diversity. On one hand, I want to agree with you. On the other hand, especially because we've established our like mostly white cast, it would then be kind of weird to have then the villains be people of color. If it was more balanced from the start, I would agree with you. But because we've started with a mostly white cast, it would feel weird if the villains were people of color. Mostly people of color. I would have a kind of a weird feeling about that. But I do agree because the afro makes sense if Stormy in particular was a person of color. I think my favorite tricks is Stormy for some reason. Like she was a little evil idiot. I know Stormy was definitely the funniest out of all of the tricks. Can we get some mixes race characters, please? Just in general. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Not just because like it would offer more opportunities for me as an actor, but just in general. Like the fact that I grew up mostly going to cartoons, honestly, to find like representation, people that look like me, and not live action. I think that says something. That like the only place I can find representation is in like cartoon fantasy. Oh man, my voice is starting to go. Ooh, ooh. Darcy is my fave. She had my fave fashions. I loved her little glasses and her casual outfit. Yes, I agree. She was like the only character that really had glasses. I think like Icy also had like sunglasses at one point. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm mixed and we're barely ever represented. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it would be nice, wouldn't it? Mm. Black people are being more represented, but mixed people are barely represented. That's a tough call because it's tough to say because obviously in a lot of communities of color there's like colorism in that people of color with lighter skin are favored over people of color with darker skin. Oh man, ah, with darker skin, and but the lighter skin people of color aren't necessarily mixed. So it's like it's complicated. It's complicated, and I probably can't do it justice on the fly in a live stream. OMG, it's rare to see a character with light powers be a person of color. Sorry, I've got like phlegm going on right now. Powers be a person of color. Yeah, I'm now trying to think of anybody who's ever done that. Yeah, it's always the blonde girl who has the light powers. Because yeah, Winx and I think Witch also did that as well. Um, who else? Who else? Avalon Web of Magic, which I was talking about. The blonde girl also has the light powers. Yeah, black people are still hugely underrepresented. Yeah, just in general. I absolutely agree. Sailor Moon too, Sailor Venus. Yes. Random note, but I would love for a mature, realistic approach, as they say. Uh, hmm. It could happen. It could happen. Like I feel like the armor that the specialists wear, and even like the fairies in that like short little like scene where they're like, we're going after the burned one. It reminds me of like Hunger Games. That armor, like Hunger Games and Divergent, is what that armor reminds me of. I also feel that's partially where they've gotten their inspiration, at least like costuming wise, because the clothes all feel so. Other than Stella, it's all very like simple. It's like stuff you would find at like H&M, not even Forever 21. I feel like Forever 21 um has kind of more of an identity, but like kind of like stuff like H&M and like Target is where you would find that stuff. I'm actually pretty sure that's where I got the robe that looks just like the one Aisha wears. I got that at Target. Why is it that whenever a female charge is strong, is a female is character is strong, they have masculine traits? Yeah, that's definitely an issue. It's like a big trope where it's like the girl who's strong is like one of the I'm not like other girls kind of girls. A good counter example of this, and I feel like almost like the direction they should have gone in is Kim Possible. I'm not talking about the live action movie that came out like last year. I'm talking about the original cartoon. Because the original cartoon, she she was like, she was like a cheerleader, but she was also like a super spy. She could kick everybody's butt. But she was like, it wasn't like a mutually exclusive thing. Like she could be both at the same time, and it wasn't that big of a problem. But yeah, she was also into like, makeup and fashion, and she was like a boy band fan. And I wish there was more of that kind of vibe in Fate the Winx Saga. Say that to the stupid sparkly outfit and oof. Yeah, I mean, I in my Winx Club fan fiction, the two main characters are sisters. One's a fairy and one's a witch. And like the fairy character Silver is trying to convince Jade to be a witch to become a fairy. And like Jade is basically like I'm not like other girls kind of girl. And being a witch, that makes sense. I feel that makes sense. And in the chapter I recently wrote, which is not posted yet, like Silver's trying to convince Jade, like oh, you did kind of like a thing that was kind of like something fairies would do. And Jade responds with, "Well, I'm not ready to start wearing a glittery mini skirt just yet," which is very like I'm not like other girls type of line. Also, Stella doesn't have to be a mean girl snob just because she loves fashion. Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I think in the original show, they were very good about like, Stella was like the fashionista, but she was also nice and she was kind of the one who introduced Bloom to like the Winx world. But yeah, this version I feel like she's less interesting just because she's like a mean girl with like a heart of really has a heart of gold inside. I mean, I haven't seen the rest of the show, but I assume that's where they're going with her. She's like mean girl outside, but she's really nice on the inside. It makes her less interesting. But on that note, I think I'm going to wrap up the stream. I'm starting to lose my voice. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending this live stream and talking about Fate the Winx Saga with me. It's been a lot of fun. And I'm going to give everybody a minute to say goodbye and save their thoughts. And I'm going to wrap this up and get some water. I should have gotten water. I was drinking coffee this whole time because I hadn't finished my morning coffee by the time I started the stream. But I really need some water. So thank you so much, everybody. Oh, bye. Thank you. Oh, thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for coming. Alrighty. Oh, Hope, Love, Light. I wish kept her preppy personality and kept her good fashion. Oh yeah, thank you already for attending this. Yes, Kayla, go to bed. Alrighty, goodbye.